This is a rebroadcast from a mid-December Touch 106.1 FM Boston radio show. Touch Beat is a news, legal, and public events session of which I am a guest and occasional co-host. This particular segment deals with the case of a cocaine-addled road rage in which Robert O'Connell was present, and he shot Joseph Fasano, who was a firefighter, and Jennifer Bynarowicz was in the car with Joseph Fasano, and there was allegedly cocaine on Joseph Fasano's face, and in the car that was owned by Jennifer Bynarowicz. I'm not sure who was insuring that vehicle, although I think I know who was. But anyway, we do know that Mr. Fasano has a checkered history, to say the least, as far as driving goes. He's been suspended a couple of times, lots of incidents there, also incidents of violence. He was on probation. And then the one thing we don't know, and that the major media needs to research with all of their resources, is whether or not there's any checkered history with regard to Robert O'Connell and drugs or traffic citations and things of that nature. So I think it's incumbent upon the large media, the major media, and their Fourth Amendment, the discharge of their Fourth Amendment duties to investigate these matters. So without further ado, let's play the segment.
Hey, Touch 106.1 FM. How are y'all doing today? How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm waiting for a call, though. Someone was going to call into the station and explain how we were being racist in our coverage of the Quincy shooting out there with the developer and the firefighter. Yeah, but apparently, to recap briefly for those of you who have not heard, a little while back, about a week or so ago, there was a shooting involving a firefighter by the name of Joey Fasano and a developer's son by the name of Robert O'Connell, who's also a developer, I guess, and then Jennifer Bynarowicz was the witness who was in the car with Mr. Fasano, who allegedly had cocaine on his face and cocaine in the car, and we really don't know exactly what happened that day, but I've been suggesting that everybody needs to be tested for drugs, or should have been, and that's all relevant. If she was on drugs, that would affect her judgment. All these things need to be brought out. And I said that O'Connell's background needed to be brought out, too, if he has criminal background or a driving issue. We know that Fasano did, violent backgrounds and probation and lots of driving issues, suspensions, and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, on the Wicked Local blog, someone was threatening me, saying that they were going to make an example out of me, and that they had proved me on that blog to be a racist and a liar.
Okay.
However,
what was you lying about?
I'm not quite sure, because the individual said that they were going to call into the station today, and I gave them a specific time to call in so that we could talk about it. That's the idea. Open forum, everybody talk about how we are allegedly racist here. And my point is that we at Touch FM are discussing issues that concern the greater community and putting a lens on that and letting people discuss it. So, there's potentiality for corruption in here. We need to find out what really happened. And I think that's what the issue is. And I'm wondering, how do you people out there feel about this case? I mean, do you think that everybody should be investigated? Does that make sense?
Well, that's what we want to bring out there. I mean, if you do the crime, you're supposed to serve the time. But what we're talking about is the disparity of how sentencing is issued, how people are treated differently. Blacks are treated differently than whites. People in certain positions are treated differently.
Right.
And it goes to the core of the law. What comes out with the law, it's not defined exactly the same way for everybody.
Right, well, it's money and race and position. And people want to keep knocking out the racial element, but race is inexorably intertwined into many of these issues.
Of course.
Given the history of the country, you can't say that it's not. Mm-hmm. But in any event, you got a situation here where certainly, the $500,000 bail on O'Connell, that's questionable. It's it's not flagrant or anything that he's on house arrest, given the circumstances. But certainly the cocaine on Fasano's face and his driving history, he seemed to be kind of sliding by there as a firefighter, and I presume that every firefighter, as I've said, is a hero. That's my assumption, until proven otherwise. And even then, being a firefighter in and of itself is an heroic act.
Yeah.
So if he's a failed or a fallen hero, then that's one issue. But to me, when that man put his uniform out there and went out there to fight fires, he's a hero. But that does not make him infallible. And that's what people have a hard time dealing with. So they threaten on the blogs and they don't show up.
Well, and that's what you want to say, because I have family members that are firefighters, and every time I hear an alarm sounding off, your heart kind of leaps.
You say a prayer, right?
You say a prayer, but it is not getting to the point where you blind your eye to issues, because if it's a case that he needs help, because anyone that's doing drugs, I always say it's a sickness. And it needs to be treated as a sickness, and they need help. You don't want to know that a firefighter, police, anyone that's in a service that's there to take and protect the public is in a position where, because of certain drug-induced or even alcohol, it impairs their
judgment and ability to function.
And their ability to function, that other people could be hurt because of that.
Correct. And you should see some of the comments on this blog were really amazing to see how the public thinks about some of these things. I think some of them are just blindly trying to protect Mr. Fasano, and some of the comments were things like, what he does on his own time is his own thing, 3 strikes and you're out. I'm like, well, wait a minute. And I said on the blog, I can see that with respect to marijuana or even alcohol. I can see that argument. Cocaine is a felony. Okay? So that right there, how apologetic can you be for a man who's, allegedly got cocaine on his nose and on his face? This is just crazy that people expect everybody to turn a blind eye to it. We're not going to turn a blind eye. And as the case goes on, this station will be at hearings, and, we're going to find out what should they really be doing about this man's condition. As part of the human condition and as part of being a firefighter in specific.
Well, my question would be, is I'm going to put it out there to the community. If it was a youth in the community that was caught in the car and in that type of situation, how do you think that would have been handled?
Right, that's what we need to ask the people out there. You've got
What do you think?
Yeah, a non-firefighter, you can make him white, you can make him Asian, you can make him black, but somebody who's not in that position, with the thin blue line, you put them in a car, in a road rage situation with cocaine in the car and on his face, all right, and you ask me, is he not going to get charged with this cocaine? You got to be kidding me. You're done.
What say you, the community? 617-445-1061 is the number. You're here on the Touch Beat on Touch 106.1 FM.
Touch beat.